So if you don't know, that is that song. It hits right every time. All right. I am going to most likely keep my camera off for a lot of this. Okay. Um, I don't want people to watch that can't handle it. All right. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that it is very triggering. So I would prefer people not watch. All right. This man, he is discussed a lot in this documentary, and I credit Liz is a force, y'all. All right. But it all started with him, and it's so sad that he's not here, right? Obviously, like, we know that he is, we know that he's here, right, in spirit. But he is discussed a lot in this, as is Mike O'Donnell. And I don't want people to be triggered, right? That's not what I'm here for. But I do think that it's important, right? These programs are still making billions of dollars every year. Okay. And parents need to know better. Okay. This also leads into, also, just so everybody understands, this this movie, it took 9 years to make this movie. All right. It took time, and it's but it is emotional. It is emotional, and I just don't want anybody to be triggered, right? It's important. I think it's important for people to see it, and to see how the truth, right? What's behind the curtain. And the truth of it is, unless you go looking, all right, you're not going to know. And I can understand and or empathize for a parent that may feel like they are in a helpless situation and feel like this is the only way to save their child, but I promise that it's not. I think about really often what would have happened if we, the traumatized children that were sent to these programs, got love instead of compounded trauma. But like, I think about that often. You're also going to see a lot of talk about the Times article and the amount of alumni that we have that are passed away. That number is higher now. We're over 160, and that is not normal. It was not it's not a school that people think in the actual sense. There was a much smaller demographic we're talking about. When I was there, I was number 90 on the pop. We had about 100 kids. All right. So just to put that into context, the school did get bigger in the early 2000s. They went up to 300 students at a time. But these programs are not it. All right. They are not it. And I hope that parents are now able to do, prospective parents, excuse me, are able to do the research, because it's out there. It's all very much out there. All right. So I am going to have to provide commentary. All right. I did say that I was doing this. They know that I'm doing this, but I still have to do it because YouTube, it flags it, right? There are parts that I do want to provide context to as well. But if you are a CSA survivor and this stuff is triggering to y'all, please I would prefer you not watch it.
see. I've done this my whole life. I would write a lot, and there was some stuff I had written that I wanted just to like go away. So like, I guess I could put it on a canvas and just paint over, and then it's gone, but I don't have to let it go.
This is before the book was written. Liz's book is I See You Survivor, Life Inside and Outside of the Fucked Up Teenage Troubled Teen Industry. This is before that book was written.
I'm intentionally painting it to be completely different than the emotions that were underneath. I think all of us have tried to do the same thing, like with our lives after. I had really lived such a lie, like such a secret about who I was because of what happened 20 years ago. September of 1994, I just turned 15. I was taken to the Families Foundation School, a program for saving troubled teens. I remember the car pulling up. Students came running down a hill and pulled me out. I was separated from my parents. I didn't know what was going on. I got dropped off in the front here, like that yard.
So this is not what the school looked like when Liz and I were there. There was just, you see how can I explain this? You see the first floor where the red and white is? There was the first floor, the second floor, and then this, but there was balconies here, right? That balcony comes up when I get to the student that unalives himself, that the staff was neglectful with, and he needed mental health help, and they ignored that. And so this was not what it was like when we were there.
And I got brought into the side. I got dragged in to what's called the intake room. They went through everything. I mean, clothes off. It was just a very cold and vicious experience. I had this terrible sense of impending doom, fear, something wasn't right. I couldn't be left here. But for the next 993 days, that's where I was.
If you're not familiar, that is what Liz goes by on social media. She's Survivor 993 across all platforms. I appreciate yourself.
Scores of parents thought that they had found a remedy for the rebellious kids by sending them to a tough love camp.
Common names for these programs include boot camps, boarding schools, and wilderness programs, which are typically in the mountains, the forest, or the desert.
Anywhere between 120 to 200,000 young people are in youth treatment programs.
And this is what is broadly known as an emotional growth program, a place that takes troubled teens and tries to mold their behavior.
This is a grueling regimen of tough love, far removed from a teenager's familiar haunts and habits.
A youngster who is going down in flames needs something tough to help him get back on track.
Give me one more minute. Take control of it. You better start answering questions.
It's not easy. It's not fun. It's tough love.
And I think that like now there's enough research to show that tough love is counterproductive. These types of programs are counterproductive. They wind up causing more harm than good. That's just it just is the way that it is. It's not, we didn't make that up. It just is what it was. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Hold on, y'all, I gotta flip back. Yeah, wilderness programs are rough.
I think that's it. Okay. There's my favorite one. It's me painting as a kid, because that's what I would do. You could buy unprinted newspaper, like on a big roll. My mom, she would hang it in the garage, and then she would just let me go outside with a bucket of paint. Just let me do my thing. I was a fun kid. I know that. Like, I was always fun, very entertaining. I'm still funny.
He is still.
I grew up in Dutchess County, New York, the oldest of 3.
Today we are having our wonderful baby step free. Baby step news will be right back after these messages.
This was probably 1993, so it's like 13, 14 in those pictures. Oh yeah, rocking the red hair. I took this picture because there was a boy up the street that I really liked, and I was going to give him my picture. I was a difficult teen. I was having outbursts at home. Then I stopped wanting to go to school. They diagnosed me with ADHD. I was taking tons of medication. It was just a really blurry time in my life. I made a decision one night to jump out of my window and go hang out with my friends. And we were in abandoned townhouses being built. The police came and we were all hauled off to the police station. It was one of those, Kennedy secrets, like it must go away. This can't be our daughter. It was being recommended by professionals based on my parents' inability.
Liz is also, I just want to make this like 100% clear. Liz is a very successful, like a profession, top of her field type shit. Okay. She was actually my junior sponsor for a while when I was at the school.
To handle me, that they knew of this place, the family school, that they've referred a lot of students to with much success. And if you want her to finish high school and not end up pregnant or dead or on drugs, then you should save her life and send her. The Family Foundation School was in the Catskill Mountains, which was beautiful, remote. And my parents believed that I would be away from the temptations of the outside world. I would learn discipline and how to respect and listen to authority. This was probably one of the initial times my parents came to the school. And I'm trying to smile. Like, my mom looked so at ease and so relieved. But you might as well just color my eyes in black.
Right.
Look at my face. I look so, gone.
We all go through a period of that. When I look back at photos of myself from my attendance at this school, I look the same. It is a completely different person than who I am now, who I even was before the school. Like, something in my eyes, like I just look dead, not lively, if that makes sense.
I was there for almost 3 years.
She was there a long time.
Every morning, you would be assigned various tasks. They put me on dish crew in the kitchen, and that was hard. I don't have memories of playing. We just worked. Phone calls home, if we got them, were timed and supervised. So you were completely cut off from the world. And when you are remote and away from the world, bad things are going to happen when no one's paying attention. The staff.
So you see me talk about these values that they tried to drill into our heads and how we possess them, but they don't, right? And this is what I'm referring to. Honesty, love, purity, and unselfishness. That was like their mission statement, if you will. And it's just wild to me that they don't exhibit those values.
You knew they were out to get you. You could feel it on the back of your neck. There was physical abuse, mental, emotional abuse by the staff. If you didn't eat your food, you'd sit in the corner, and that could go on for days. If your food was moldy, 6 days later, the staff would make you eat it. Kids would vomit and be forced to eat it again. But a lot of the time, the abuse was carried out by us. The only way to move up in the program was to inflict abuse on others. Sometimes if you acted out, other students would tackle you, take you to the ground, wrap you up in a blanket, and then duct tape you and leave you on the floor, face down. There were no bathroom breaks. Your dignity was just gone. It really was a Lord of the Flies setup. And it changed our relationships with our families. It changed our perspectives of the world. And I'm just one out of thousands from this enormous industry.
Everyone called me Caddy. That's always been my nickname. I grew up in a Cadillac. It's got 62 colors on it. At the time of building this car, I was coming close to facing the fact that I was going to become, or I was making my choice to be out loud and trans. And so the whole outside is mostly baby blues and whites to represent boy. And then in the inside, it's all pink and white, you know, so it was girly on the inside. Right about here is Valentine's Day 1998. This is a new point in my life. I started really exploring being queer and open, and I was starting to transition. I could express myself, and I met gay people who weren't afraid to be gay, and I just saw a more open world. A few weeks before this picture, we were coming home from a party, and there's glitter residue on my face. My father, he immediately caught the glitter and said, "What the fuck is this fairy dust?"
What do you do if your child gets caught in a cycle of self-destructive or even dangerous behavior? Some desperate parents are turning to a drastic solution. They're having their children abducted, taken against their will to a tough behavior modification program.
This was very common. kids would be, it was called escorted. The parents would hire somebody, if they thought that the kid was going to be combative, they would hire a service to come in and literally take the child out of the house by any means necessary and escort them to the property. Very common.
Who are you? These people, known as transporters, have been hired to sneak into this home and seize a 16-year-old.
We're going to have those arms to the car.
They got my wrists really quick behind my back. They've got flashlights, beanies, gloves. They literally was thrown in to the back of the truck. And we just disappeared.
I don't support Dr. Phil because of his support for this industry. Because in my mind, if you're a doctor and you support this industry, I got nothing for you, because all you're doing is causing harm. That's unethical to me.
When I got there would be head counts and standing straight up, you know, just reinforcing that we need to keep order and have rules. Isolation is one of their first form of discipline. This is where I slept. I actually couldn't lay down. I had to sleep in fetal. There was never a mattress. I might have had a pillow, but there was never anything soft. It was hardwood. And then there were the brainwashing seminars. The seminar was a 3-day group therapy. It was about accountability. You are releasing your deepest, darkest secret. I told them that I was beat, and I watched my mom get beat, and they just weren't interested in it. I then told them that I dressed in women's clothes. That was enough for them. That was finally the answer they were looking for. And they ended up actually using that against me. They had all the lights off in the room. And then your peers would just start going for it. Silly faggot. You deserve to be raped. To die of AIDS.
It's pretty smart that they brought us way out in the forest. They could get away with anything.
These are the parents that I really, like, my heart just breaks for them, because I can't imagine sending my kids someplace and it ultimately they die from it, right? I can't imagine that, and it's awful.
The thing I like about baking is that it's such a easy thing to focus on and kind of get lost in your thoughts. Both our daughters liked to cook. We cooked together. We still cook together with Brianna.
And I'll get your oranges and look for you.
What are you girls doing here?
Done. It's all done. It's all done.
You're making orange juice.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you make orange juice?
Erica's love of the water started early because we took her to swim lessons when she was like 3 months old. Everybody says their babies are beautiful, but she really was. People would stop me, places and like, oh my gosh, she looked like the Gerber baby.
All right. Erica, how much does he weigh? Good job.
The early years, it was just nice. Erica was just a shining kid all along. All of a sudden, I started getting calls from teachers and counselors. She'd been depressed. So she was on Prozac. We had lots of appointments and lots of medication adjustments and more than one diagnosis. And then she had long screeds of suicidal ideation about how good it would be not to open her eyes anymore. The therapist said, you really need to look at a treatment program. And so then we started doing our research, and there were two options, you know, quote unquote, therapeutic boarding schools and the wilderness programs.
Catherine Freer Wilderness Therapy Programs have been working with families to facilitate long-term change in struggling adolescents. Participants take part in a backpacking and adventure activity expedition, which combines outdoor living, a healthy diet, physical activity, and extensive psychotherapy.
So I can't speak for the wilderness program, but there was no fucking therapy at the family school. There was no therapy. All right. This is actually one of the more popular ones. And this is what they shouldn't be able to do, is they have these marketing campaigns, all right, that lie. They're deceptive. And unfortunately, parents that are uneducated about this type of stuff, they fall for it because they're so desperate to get their kid help that will work. They think will work anyway.
I don't have any shame, but I certainly have regrets. I made really devastating decisions. I placed my daughter someplace that killed her. Erica went into the program on Sunday, May 26, 2002. And she died of heat stroke and dehydration. 24 hours later,
$24 later.
It's a little mess.
Heat stroke and dehydration. Two things that are completely avoidable.
Essay. Clearly, we're not ready. But we do have a swing. We have stroller, car seat. We can leave the hospital legally. But we'll get the stuff set up soon. Get ready for our baby. I'm really excited. When I was dropped off at the family, I just turned 15. I left when I realized I was 18. So eventually I just walked away. I was so angry and confused.
You see this kid right here? He's the one that died after Paul was arrested.
And like nothing made sense. I didn't know anything about music or culture or kids my age. Everything was completely foreign and unfamiliar to me. I think a lot of us struggled after we left. I had a hard road, a lot of setbacks, a lot of failed relationships, a lot of family problems. We didn't know enough at the time to even get help. And who would want to get help? Because we just were brought to help, we thought, and they abused the shit out of us. So a lot of us were too afraid to just talk. That evolved once social media and the internet and information started really becoming available. And then you were able to identify, like, there are other people out there like me.
What's it doing?
Good seeing
Oh
you.
my God, you made it.
She was also one of my junior sponsors, D.
You made it. Oh my God.
It's old school family.
Oh my God. This is really. Have you looked at all these?
Yeah.
I believe you kept this. I would have set this up on fire like years ago.
After the family, those were the only people I hung out with. I didn't hang out with any new people. My life was pretty messed up.
There's that picture of John.
That's graduation.
He looks so different.
John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Martin Crawford was a very good friend of mine that I went to school with. I knew him before the school, after the school, and we clung to each other after we left.
She is the only one living in this photo.
Because we were scared. But he took on this courage. He testified in front of Congress.
Some congressional leaders are calling for federal regulation of so-called boot camps for kids.
Now a California congressman is spearheading a bill to regulate these programs.
It is estimated that hundreds of programs operate nationwide with anywhere from no regulation whatsoever to some regulation. The Government Accountability Office found thousands of allegations of abuse and neglect between 1990 and 2007. John Martin Crawford is a former program participant at the Family Foundation School, hoping to shed light on the troubled teen industry.
We've been called noisy complainers and we've been called manipulating troublemakers. But after 10 years, I finally have my chance to speak. My name's John Martin Crawford, and I was locked up at the Family Foundation School from 95 to 97.
This was the first time that any of us could point at a television or a computer and say, that looks like me, that sounds like me, that's us.
I witnessed it all, including staff punching students in the face while restraining, not once, but several times.
Holy shit, someone went and said it out loud at Congress. John's testimony validated what we all had been feeling. We all had permission at that point, like permission granted to come out.
A lot of alumni started coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, it happened to me too. Can we do something? And that's how the Truth campaign was formed.
We were able, as a collective, take our voices to social media.
People started posting their stories.
Everything. Their enrollment started going down. I remember John calling, he's like, it's happening. And they are closing down. They can't financially, those fuckers, like, we're done. Like, it's over. Like, they're gonna pay for this. We had done this monumental thing. However, the unintended outcome of that was watching some of the staff leave as if nothing had ever happened and they were starting their own programs in other places. Like, the school didn't survive, but the people did. No one was held accountable. And that's when I think John really felt this loss of control. He took his own life. And that was really hard. This was the eulogy that I gave at the service. Today is about John, about his life, his wonderful spirit, and the mission that he shouldered for all of us. It is up to us to fill the spaces that John left in our lives. The Family Foundation School got one thing right. They called us a family. And many of us here share a common unspoken bond that can never be truly explained or broken. I encourage all of you to tell and retell our story. John, I will miss you forever. Someday I will find you, and don't forget to watch over all of us as you always have. People wanted answers. People were calling me like, how did this happen? What was going on? And I felt like everyone was watching me, like as if I was going to kill myself next or something, you know, like if John's gone, like what's Liz going to do? Come on, Grayson. Oh my gosh. Come on. Grayson. Come on. Someday mommy will tell you all about this. Someday, right?
My name is Liz Ianelli. Some of you may know me as Survivor 993. I am taking to Facebook today to make this video because I feel it's important. I want you to know that I see you. That if you're struggling from depression where no one understands or you can't explain what happened to you because you're not even really sure, you're not alone.
They had us so believing that what they were giving us, they could take away. A lot of our classmates still feel that way.
It would be hard for the average person to even believe that places like that existed.
I know.
You know?
The long-term effects. This is the area that nobody's touched yet.
Well, we are the long-term effects.
And fucking people are dropping dead.
Hello, Miss Brady.
When I got to Spring Creek Lodge, I was 16. I was on my way to transitioning. Everything was loves and hugs and giggles. And when I came out, it was cold, sinister, homophobic, and violent.
It took me 13 years to come out, to finally admit it, to be open, to not feel the shame.
Caddy has what I would really truly label PTSD. It's phases and episodes, and there's really nothing that I can even do to help.
Sometimes with this stuff, I get locked down. I don't see the public. It's like, I have to go because I don't want to break her.
I don't know if this is something someone could completely heal from. It's like shrapnel. Sometimes pieces of it will work to the surface of your skin and it's painful, but if it moves 1 inch left or too far right, you could end up like John. What bench do you want to sit at?
You're faking it, kiddo. It's all about what Liz wants. So if I get you shit on these shoes, you're fucking licking it all.
I love you, Michael Donald.
Yeah, I know you. Love you too. A lot has gone on since I've left that place. You know, I became a monster after that place. I got hooked on heroin. I never wanted it to stop because it got me out of myself. I was able to forget. I was able not to feel. And then when I found out about John Martin Crawford, it's so easy to say it was this and it was this and it was this. No, because that developmental period of time was stolen from him in order to have the strength to say no, to say, you know, suicide's the wrong thing. I get suicidal, you know, shit, man, once or twice a month I do. And I know why I do. You know what I mean? It's because I feel alone inside. I feel empty. I feel like that there's this gigantic void in my life that I don't know what to fill it with. There's a lot of damage that went on, but in the staff, those are the people that got off scot-free. Those are the people I want to pay.
It's unfair that these staff got to live their real lives while the rest of us are trying to escape the trauma of 20, 30 years ago. When John died, it really woke the dragon in me. I always hid kind of behind John. I was never able to come out like John did, like in front of Congress, really publicly, but I'm not afraid of it anymore like I was. Losing John really like empowered me to.
Liz at the time had a federal job. She worked for the government. So she kind of had to hang back, you know, and do things behind the scenes. John Martin Crawford passing away was like the catalyst for her to come out, if that makes sense.
Say, like, I can do something about it. We shut down our program. Now what do we do? Where do you go from there? The staff, I want to smoke them all out of their shadows, pull them out of the lives they got to live and lead.
I want the upper hand. I want the power. And I want my life back.
Well, this is how I do it. So I have a couple of notebooks, different things where I keep stuff logged. And then days like today, when I have some time, I start tracking people down. Reaching out to some former staff members. I'm really seeking an understanding. How could you have done these things? Do you acknowledge these things?
Hello?
Hi, it's Liz Ianelli. I don't know if you remember me.
Yes, from the family school.
You do remember me.
Yes, oh yeah.
I don't know if you know or not, but John Martin Crawford committed suicide in October.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it kind of brought a lot of things back to the forefront for me, especially losing him. You know, the school fucked up my life a lot.
I admit, you know, there's so many things that we did wrong. And for me, I really thought, you know, what we're doing was going to help you.
So that's that. And then I really do think that the people starting the programs early on really did believe that they were doing good. But there was a line where it crossed over into the realization that if we keep these kids in these positions of vulnerability, there's a great deal of money that.
I agree with that. I think that maybe in the beginning, when it was before they became a school and took kids in and they were dealing with adults, I do think that they might have begun with good intentions. I feel that way about people that get into the treatment industry as well. But once they pick up the money that they can make, the greed just takes over. That I feel that way about a lot of different things, actually.
Can be made. I have some bills. The billing is weird because they ran some of it through insurance. My parents, they spent the most money on the incidentals. So this one is from May of 94 through December of 95. Let's see. Personal supplies, haircut, laundry, and school supplies. But I never had like a real health class or I don't know, like a calculus. I don't even know what kids do in high school. Like seriously, I don't even know what the real classes are, but it wasn't really like a structured environment. It was like whatever level the teacher could teach you, that was the math that you learned.
Thanks.
They were recruiting staff members from the community, from the rooms of AA. No one had a background check. These were not educated, trained professionals.
Wild.
When you started working there, this was the way it was presented. The children that are here, it's the last chance for them. They've come through juvies, they've come from, jails, they've come from other programs.
That's not always true either. I think there was only like 2 or 3 kids in the entirety of my stay that it was like they were court mandated. D actually is one of them. Like the girl that is in this, that's not Liz. D was court mandated, but that wasn't very frequent. So I was in one psychiatric hospital and they funneled a lot of us. There was a lot of us that came from Four Winds was the name of it. And a lot of us came from Four Winds and they referred us to this program. So that's not necessarily true. That might be what they told people, that we were these dangerous, hardened criminals, that they were going to save our lives, but that doesn't mean it was true.
And this is the last chance. So we have to do it tough love. We have to break them in order to build them up, in order to help them. So it was.
Liz is a trauma therapist, right? Like, this is what she does for a living. This was her profession. Okay. Can you imagine this fucking staff member saying something like that to somebody that has the knowledge on both sides? Not only is it her profession, but she is also a victim. The fuck?
Like, coming from a point of not being educated in how to help kids with these types of problems.
Imagine that.
You kind of
maybe, I don't know, call me crazy. Maybe y'all should have gotten educated before you took that position. No, probably no, we're not going to do that. Why would we do things the right way?
Expect that the people running the place know what they're doing. And I started to examine my conscience to see, how could I have been in the middle of these horrific things and not done something about them? And I started to feel guilt, and I started to try to figure out, why didn't I do anything?
But there is a monetary value on the experience that I went through that someone else profited from.
Facts.
I can tell you that from the school district that I came from, there was such a high volume of students placed by parents who had gone through an educational consultant in Fishkill, New York.
Teen Health Adolescent Resources may help you.
A number of these programs use deceptive marketing practices to appeal to parents.
Has he ever talked to you about suicide before?
While referral services purport to offer independent advice to parents, the truth is at least some of the referral services operate with significant conflicts of interest.
Correct.
Posing as fictitious parents, we called a number of programs and referral services to see what they would tell us. One program told our fictitious parent that they must apply to have their child admitted to the program. Although we never actually applied, our fictitious child, Devin, was approved for admission. One explanation for these shady marketing practices relates back to the root cause of many problems. Money.
Period.
Costs for the programs that we called ranged from $2,800 per month to over $13,000 per month.
Per child.
The psychologist, I met her once and she did neuropsych testing. And she saw me May 20th, 1993. She wrote,
I looked for these documents, y'all, in my mother's house. All right. Because my mother wasn't one to throw anything away. And I don't know, she didn't have them. I went through everything hoping that this stuff was there, but it wasn't.
she has a strong need to express her individuality, and her learning style is quite atypical. It is very important to change her academic setting as soon as possible. You know, it notes I'm under emotional distress. This is so sad. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm really like not like this is just. I was a difficult child, but I had some painful chapters in my life. When I was.
And this doesn't occur to them, right? This doesn't occur to people that have done and lived, allegedly, the 12-step program rigorously, right? It didn't occur to them that maybe we were difficult children because we had trauma that needed to be reconciled, right? Like, what?
About 8, I had an older male family member, and he took a liking to me. It was a very slow build, full of lollipops and ice creams and dresses. He eventually molested me as a child. I was having these panic attacks, but I had no words to explain what I was feeling. all I would be able to say.
Because a child doesn't understand. A child doesn't have the thought process to reconcile what was happening to them. So they react in other ways that it seeps out, if you will, in other areas because they don't have the ability to comprehend and process what has happened to them.
Is I don't feel good.
What's the matter with you?
Figure it out.
I can't figure it out.
That's where the communication divide came between my parents and I. And then years later, it looked like I was being oppositional, but really I was reacting to trauma as a child.
Correct.
I think still to this day, it was a different experience for us as the parents.
God.
We went through neuropsychologists, we went through psychologists, psychiatrists, pediatricians, and it just snowballed rather quickly. We were terrified.
You know, this is in the early 90s. The war on drugs was initiated.
Today, there's a drug and alcohol abuse epidemic in this country, and no one is safe from it. Not you, not me, and certainly not our children. Come on, take it.
It brought up all of these fears, and teenagers that were out of control were destined to be on drugs or pregnant or dead.
The crime bill contains more money for drug treatment and boot camps for youthful offenders.
I was not a drug addict. I was not an alcoholic. I wasn't experimenting with much of anything at all. I was just an angry, explosive teenager.
You know, I did what I thought was the best thing, and I can't undo that.
Looking back now, like, what would you tell yourself to do?
I don't know. I don't know.
God.
If it was today, I mean, if, you know, based on what was available, knowledgeable awareness at that time, I don't think we would have done anything differently. I really don't. I truly believe that, because you can only deal with what you know as you know it. You can't deal with what you don't know.
That makes me so sad for her.
When I called Catherine Freer about placing Erica, it did feel reassuring. We've told someone everything, you know, about what's going on, and we have been assured that this is what they do. As far as the safety goes, they claimed each trek is accompanied by a wilderness guide with advanced wilderness medical training and certification. The WEMT that was on Erica's trek, this was his first trek, and he had only had classroom training.
Focus is not on skills acquired or necessarily on experience or what school you went to, but what your character is like. My casual, very non-scientific research indicates there's a pretty good correlation there between what kind of staff you can have and what kind of work they're going to do. Giving them as much responsibility as they can handle, and you dare to load down.
The WEMT was also a person that was supposed to be administering medications. No medication logs were ever found regarding Erica, whether she was given her medications or not. Don't know.
I'm not as averse to hiring relatively new people like that. I've got a kid with PTSD.
Rob Cooley, the founder of Catherine Freer, his name was all over everything. But then when we sued Catherine Freer program, and we also sued Dr. Cooley for malpractice, they tried to argue that Erica was not in his care.
What?
You're the psychologist whose name is on the program and is the head of the program. So that was enlightening.
Crazy.
We sent the GAO all the Catherine Freer materials. And then Congressman Miller asked us to testify. Thank you, Chairman Miller, and those committee members present today for the opportunity to share our family's story.
I wanted people to know what the world had lost, what we had lost.
On May 26, 2002, we arrived at Catherine Freer's Nevada office. We had been advised by Freer not to tell Erica we were placing her until our arrival for the family meeting that would begin the trek. Of all the many profound and tormenting regrets we have about our terrible decision, agreeing to deceive Erica is one of the worst. We will be haunted as long as we live by Erica's cry of, "Please, Daddy, don't make me go."
We got out of the car and I wanted to tell her, okay, let's leave. You know, that's what I wanted to say, but I knew that we had worked so hard to get to this point and we thought it was the right thing. Erica was sitting next to me and she had her leg pressed, her thigh pressed up against mine, and she held it tight there the whole time that we were in there. That was the last time I got to touch her. We never saw her again alive.
When Erica's eyes rolled into the back of her head and she fell off the trail, headfirst into rocks and scrub brush, she was left to lie where she fell for 45 minutes while two Freer staffers, still unwilling or unable to recognize what was happening, watched Erica die a slow, painful death. When the Freer team finally responded to Erica's last few tortured breaths, they called the local authorities to ask for help and a helicopter to get Erica to a hospital, but they didn't know where they were.
The first GPS coordinates they gave them were in California. They didn't know where they were.
Freer's trusted team mistook a dire medical emergency for teenage belligerence, and Erica died that afternoon of heat stroke with dehydration.
You know, I wanted to see these people because I wanted to see the people that were the last people that were with her, you know. I believed I wanted to hear, you know, that whatever had happened, that there was someone there with her comforting her, you know, because I didn't know what had happened. And so I, you know, so
And we know
ultimately
now that nobody was comforting her.
No,
It was just
nobody
young.
gave a shit. It's an identity shattering experience in every way. I just wish I'm able to stand strong for her when I didn't.
Look at that face going.
And you can't do things naughty in here. You can't. You want to go on the radio?
Good afternoon and welcome to Survivor Voices show. Liz, thank you so much for coming on. I know that you lost your friend. Is that something you're comfortable talking a little bit about?
Absolutely. My promise to John was that his life and his voice would live through all of us, because the horrors that we experience are so mind-blowing, and there still has been no legislation passed to monitor or to check in. John was testifying in front of Congress years ago, but then after Congress, there was this stark silence, and the Miller bill never made it off the floor. And it's still happening. Like, this isn't of long ago. There are still programs that are still up and running. So to all of us that are listening now, we are the survivors. And for all of the pain and the suffering that we've been through, it's really time for all of us to raise our voice louder so that everyone can hear us right this minute.
It took me 15 years to come to terms with what happened to me. And I was floored by the fact that there were hundreds of thousands of kids going through exactly what I went through. All these memories started flooding back, and I was contacting people I hadn't heard from in 35 years.
There are far more students who were now adults.
The things I experienced left me with post-traumatic stress disorder.
We're social workers, doctors, lawyers, and the tables are turning because we are no longer afraid of them. The secrets that this place keeps, I'm going to tell them all. For 3.5 years that I've been participating in being filmed, I still let them silence me. Like, I am telling my story, but I'm also more of a victim than what you think. How can I stand there and tell people to come forward and not come forward myself? It's time to tell the whole truth about what happened to me. When I was working in the kitchen, there was a new cook who worked in there. I would go get the food and he would be there in the freezer. I knew something was really wrong. This felt familiar. From September of 1994, for like 6 months, I was being sexually groomed and assaulted by the cook. Growing up, I was told, if you ever get lost or in trouble, you can go to a priest or you can go to a police officer. There was a priest at the family school, so I felt like surely he'll help me. But instead of help, I get called down into the office and I got the surprise of my life. They berated me in front of everyone for like 3 hours. Like, you little slut. What a whore you are. No wonder you're here. How many boys have you fucked? And then if that wasn't enough, they said, you're going to the blanket. I was duct taped, wrapped up in blankets for 8 days. That was the lowest I had ever been in my life. I can tell you that there are at least 5 girls I know with that were either having to give blowjobs or have sex, or were threatened with having to do those things for home visits and things like that.
You're kidding me.
No.
Why didn't anybody afterwards file
Statute of limitations, fear and statute of limitations.
yeah.
And, you know, we were so fucked up when we left. I mean, like, we're talking, none of us came out of that fog for at least 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Took me like 10.
My favorite part of the day.
He touched you with the brushes.
Touch me with your brushes.
When I left Spring Creek, I never really spoke of it. It wasn't so many years later that I realized that I was avoiding something. It actually was Facebook last year in August. I was scrolling through and I had clicked on a group that said Spring Creek Lodge Academy Survivor. The word survivor really resonated with me. And so I started thinking about things and I was like, what am I a survivor of? And then my soul kind of just sank. Everything started coming back. After I was kidnapped, the man that picks me up is one of the people that ran the place. He poked around at my social life. If I had a girlfriend, if I was bi or gay, he told me he would let me have one last cigarette. We pulled off. No one in the world heard us or saw us, and he was certain of that. He was sitting in the door of the van, and I remember his hand and it grabbing the back of my head. I was completely violated. For someone that's supposed to teach about accountability and integrity, it was just like the devil doesn't follow the same rules. Amen. Spring Creek was in the town of Mompson Falls. And in Montana, they didn't have to register with the state at all. It gives them a lot.
That's true in New York too. Private schools, I don't know if this is still true today, but back then, that is true. They didn't have to follow typical school laws because they were considered a private boarding school. So they didn't have to abide by the same guidelines, if you will.
Power and authority.
When you express some concern about the alternative schools, you hear a lot about, they bring a lot of money into Sanders County, and maybe we shouldn't meddle too much into what's going on.
There's no denying Spring Creek has cultivated deep connections in this rural community. Spring Creek contributes to local law enforcement financially. Over the years, Sheriff Arnold has accepted hundreds in campaign donations from the Pullen family, who owns Spring Creek Lodge.
Cameron and Chief and Pullen, are you friends with them, would you say?
Yes.
Do you think that you're close?
I do think that this is a thing with the family as well. Because number one, when I filed that New York State FOIA with the New York State Police, who, while I'm reading these documents, it stated over and over and over again that the New York State Police have investigated here. The New York State Police have investigated here, right? And so I wanted those records, but they want $7,500 for that FOIA. Okay. The only thing, why would it be $7,500 unless there were thousands of pages in that FOIA, which proves that this was they were investigated over and over and over and over and over again, but they got away with it every time.
Personal relationship with them, and then some financial backing compromises your ability in any way to do an investigation if there were to be criminal allegations against anybody at the school.
No, wouldn't make any difference at all.
Why not?
I think because of my integrity, it doesn't matter.
Laughable. Laughable. Imagine that. Imagine that. Wild shit.
When an assault took place, the programs are already telling the police that the child is lying, not to believe them. Therefore, reports don't get filed and nothing gets followed up on, and the cycle of abuse continues. I knew of instances with other kids from the family school who had been sexually assaulted by staff members. One name kept coming up: Paul Gear. Paul was one of the most dangerous staff members at the family. He never sexually assaulted me, but he's frozen in my trauma personally. He was one of the staff screaming at me that I was both a whore and a liar. And he was part of me being put into that blanket. Hi. I knew some of the victims and I had heard their stories.
They damaged us and they have not paid one single second. Not one single second. I'm so angry that they have not had to feel as powerless as we did.
The clock starts ticking for the statute of limitations from the minute that the assault took place. New York is like one of the worst and shortest statute of limitations. You have to you're 23 to file a civil suit. So now, us being adults, we had no legal standing to sue for damages or to even bring them to court. I'm trying to stop the clock and change the statute of limitations so that it would expand the time window victims would have to report crimes that took place when they were minors. My name is Liz Ianelli. Many of you know me as Survivor 993 on Facebook and social media. This is probably one of the most critical videos that I have made to date. Recently, myself and another victim went to the Delaware County Sheriff's Office in Delhi, New York. We each filed police reports. The DA's office is prevented from taking any action because we fell outside of our statute of limitations. We both named our abusers, but those two people will go on to live their separate lives, and we're the ones that are left with the burden to bear. I am pissed. I am frustrated. I am upset. I feel like I took a round to the chest. We need to stop the clock. Hey.
Mine was great.
It was? I feel like I winged it totally.
I think as long as we get people going, and it'll be good, you know?
Right.
Like, let's find what we need. Because now they can't even do anything unless they were to bring charges against him. Like, we might not be able to ever get him.
This was in 2018, y'all.
All right, so I'm here, and he pulled in. There's Paul. Hello there. Well, thanks for meeting me here. You're welcome. Paul Gear. It's been a minute. I got some hard stuff I want to talk about. I have things I need to say to close things out. You impacted me and my sexuality and my view of love and my view of my body and my view of relationships. You were a terror, and people still have nightmares about you. And people have told me things about things that you've done, about things that you had them do. You were a sick.
That's something I did not do.
Did I, while we were there, especially during that time period, use a lot of sexual language? Absolutely. I hurt people, and I hurt them deeply. I was a monster.
I can still
But
hear that
then,
voice in my head.
I'm so sorry. If I could go back and change it, I would. Especially we're able to meet different circumstances.
Yeah, I could say I wish I never met you. After my meeting with Paul, I felt defeated. I knew there was nothing the law could do, but I thought maybe if I could get him to confess something, maybe that would be valuable. I was just trying to find a solution, and my desperation ended up being disappointment. One more attempt to get justice had failed, like in my face. I had a conversation with someone recently, what does survivor really mean? Like, I'm still breathing. I got out alive, but does that mean I went on to live? Absolutely not. I was kind of hoping that John's suicide would propel people to get help, but there's no hospital system for survivors. There's no access to free care. So it's like, me as a survivor, where do I go? I had noticed on Facebook, Mike O'Donnell had started posting a lot of nostalgic young memories and photographs. It wasn't exactly the same, but John had the same kind of, I want to say, out of character Facebook posting. The last text I sent to him was, "Hey, are you okay? You've got me really worried." And I never heard back. And then the day after Thanksgiving on Facebook, I saw a post pop up, "RIP Mike O'Donnell." And it was like this overwhelming sense of shock and anger, like all over again. I was experiencing what happened with John. Like, how could you possibly leave me? So there's a lot of speculation about what happened. People are afraid to say it was an overdose or it was suicide. I believe that he took his own life. Mike dying was like the 11th in a row in like 3 years. My struggle was the pendulum between rage and sadness. Our trauma wasn't neatly packaged where we left with this little box with a bow. Art is a very safe method of deconstructing things I feel. Once you start ripping things up, it's like you're taking the power away from what it's been.
When I left the program, I had the voices of the seminars in my head. That's where the cars came in. All those terrible things couldn't be heard over the banging, the grinding, and the sanding.
Oh my God, that's my birthday.
I've always considered myself a writer, but after Erica died, I really felt like my words had escaped me. I started playing with the idea of a graphic memoir about Erica. When I started writing this way, it was such a reversal of how to think. It's much more whole body.
I find it completely inspiring to take something that has been disregarded and turn it into something people dream of. It's about bringing something back to life.
Writing about Erica is one of my ways of maintaining a connection. I wonder why I address you in these pieces about you that I draw at your table, surrounded by your art and your belongings. It should be black and white. Either the you of you is still around and knows what's in my heart and mind. Up here, Mom, with the rainbows and the butterflies. Or not. In the support group, we often reassure one another. They are always with us. This begs the question, are they always with us, or do they have to read about us in a comic book?
I found myself in the shop, long hours, and as a way to hide. I need to stop running from the pain, running from the memory. I do know that I have to return to Spring Creek Lodge. For every part of me that says I shouldn't, there's 100 parts of me that say I must.
Here, they'll give you your crayons. Ooh. Very abstract. Can mommy try? Nice job. I got contacted by a New York Times reporter who was asking about family school alumni deaths at that time. And when I showed him the names that we were keeping track of, he was very interested to try and figure out, was there more to this than what we already had? When 4 former students from the same school died within months of one another in 2015, and it seemed random, then the number kept growing. By the time a classmate in Ohio died of a heroin overdose in October, the toll had reached at least 87. And it went on to note Emmanuel Argyros, the son of the school's founders and its former president, declined to comment on the school's history. Quote, "I'm trying to move on," he said. He has had many conversations with angry former students, he said. It's painful to go through it over and over and over again.
Y'all, when I tell you that quote, okay, when I tell you, sorry, they're cutting my lawn, so but I can't pause it. When I tell you that quote echoes in my head, I fucking mean it, right? I mean it, because I remember when that article came out, right? I was like, it's the perfect time to take accountability, okay? It was the perfect time. The first article, there was subsequent articles, but I'm talking about the first article. You could have apologized. You could have taken accountability. You could have been honest about the trauma and the child abuse that you took part in, okay? And you chose to say it is very painful to go over and over. You just want to move on. Is that a fucking joke? Is that a joke? I couldn't even believe it, okay? But that article opened the door to my mother taking accountability and apologizing. That first article, my mother was distraught reading it because she didn't understand it. You know, like I would try to tell her, but the school had her so fucking conditioned, right? I would try to tell her and she didn't. But that article changed everything. everything. And if my mother could take accountability and apologize for sending me a place that compounded my trauma, how the fuck can't the owner?
Again, like, it kind of just drops off. Like, okay, well, that's all we get from them. We're still back to being invisible. If you told me the minute I found out John died, oh, just hang on, in 3 years you'll be on the cover of the New York Times. And what the fuck does that really mean? Like, what is it? What got done? Nothing. I've spent the last 3 years since John died fighting for this cause, but in all of that, I lost myself, and I haven't fought for me. That's on my lap. When I get upset, I run out and I get tattoos. When I can't sleep, I go out and smoke cigarettes. When I'm nervous, you know, I just get anxious and stay anxious and just suck it up. Right there. Good job. Even throughout filming, like, it's been very important to me that I'm seen as like hard and not phased. I got this, no problem, like badass and stoic. I don't talk about, but I cry a lot. And I don't know if I'm going to not commit suicide sometimes. You didn't hear that part. You heard you can be like me and say you have PTSD and OCD and you can be a survivor with my handle Survivor 993. Like, I made it. No, I didn't. I'm exhausted. I am mentally dehydrated from this. But I just keep going because I keep thinking that maybe I'll crack somebody's case. Maybe I'm going to find the one thing that can hold someone accountable. And this is one thing that John taught me. He just was so determined to fight back. Maybe if I keep digging, turn over every rock, not leave anything unturned, I will eventually be able to piece this big mess together. And I'm going to dig for everybody else too.
Yeah, the jitters. Here they come.
Aww.
What is it I'm looking for? I'm going back. Bring the nightmares back. I really hope not. Holy shit, they still have it. These were the windows I looked out of. We would kill wasps, and we would break the heads off. And we had a little row of them right there. I don't know why we did it. I guess when you're in isolation, you don't really have a lot to do. Morning head counts were here. Used to shout it. Sewer rat may taste like pumpkin pie, but I wouldn't know because I wouldn't eat the filthy head count. That seemed huge. Seems smaller now.
It's true. That's true.
Going back to Spring Creek was hard. But for me, it was healthy. Being there as me really showed that they didn't win.
I've got a part of my life back. I hope that I can carry the strength into the next chapter.
I've spent the last 7 years trying to complete a graphic memoir of our lives with and without Erica. I scratched this out for a writing group years ago, and I wanted to tell a story about the mural Erica started when we'd had to euthanize one of our dogs.
Buffy was our Shar-Pei bulldog who had died.
We came home and Erica went in the bathroom and drew a picture of Buffy on
And
the
what it says
bathroom
across
wall.
the top here is, "I will see you at the Rainbow Bridge." And so we left it there.
And then when we decided to sell the house, after Erica died, we needed to take that off. At first, I said I'd never move. Then I said I'd chisel these tiles out and put them up somewhere else. Jill watched and listened while I obliterated your art. It no longer seemed right to keep the mural when we could no longer keep you.
Well, hello there, people.
I think a lot about where Erica is. I remain in a place of belief that I'll see her again, because that gives me hope. I hope she'll want to see me.
As of today, there are 158 names on the deceased alumni list. Those are the ones that we've been able to track. There are kids that went to my program that just when they left, right? So there are kids that we don't have, nobody has like communication with. That's what we know of. 158 deceased alumni. One program.
All right, this is just volume 1 of, oh my God. In February of 2019, word came out from the governor's office that the Child Victims Act had passed.
Yes.
A groundbreaking new law took effect overnight in New York. The Child Victims Act gives sexual abuse survivors barred by a statute of limitations a 1-year window to file a civil lawsuit.
This changed everything for us. Okay. The CVA changed everything when it comes to us.
Against their alleged perpetrators and institutions like the Boy Scouts, schools, or the Catholic Church.
So for my program, there are 4 cases that are filed because I was a child victim of sexual assault. I had a choice to put my name down or to remain anonymous or protected. I said, like, I have to put my name down because I'm not a Jane Doe. Like, I'm not invisible like they said. And I want the perpetrators and those who are negligent to know it's me coming forward. Plaintiff, me, brings this lawsuit alleging against FFS claims of negligent, and these are all the categories: hiring, training,
So there is, I believe the last time I counted, there was 13 or 14 civil suits that were filed once the window opened.
Meaning supervision and retention of employees.
This is a civil suit. No one will be held criminally liable, go to jail. But them having the answer feels like a little justice.
We are now on the record. This is the video deposition of Paul Gear.
Do you know Elizabeth Ianelli?
Yes.
Is it true you met with her within the past year or so?
Yes.
Now I want you to assume I have a tape recording of that conversation.
Whoops.
For purposes of these questions.
Whoopsie. Whoopsie. This is the man that was convicted last September. Whoopsie.
Your conduct at school, were you sexually appropriate? What's the answer to that question? Check to the floor.
No. I do not consider myself to have been a nice guy or even appropriate with the language that I used, with the energy that was used. It's what we did in the culture. And I look at it myself, and I do say to myself, I should never have done those things.
The Child Victims Act was state specific. It was really localized to New York. But other survivors were already trying to recreate that in their own state. Also, a huge discussion was taking place outside of the Child Victims Act.
Raise your hand if you are a survivor of institutional child abuse.
We were having more protests, we were having more rallies. Celebrities got involved.
Like all of you here, I too was locked up in one of these schools.
What they thought were old acts and old crimes of long ago and long forgotten, they forgot that we remembered. And that was their critical mistake.
Owners of a boarding school for at-risk teens have been arrested on multiple charges of child abuse.
A former boarding school owner sentenced to prison in Southeast Iowa today for sexually abusing children at his school.
The man of the house now facing 79 felony counts.
Watching it be possible that other predators in these programs are now starting to go to jail, I got excited that perhaps we would be able to take on our own devil and accountability was still possible. The lack of support from local law enforcement just drove me up the chain of command. I couldn't think of anywhere more qualified than the FBI to deal with someone as dangerous as Paul Gear. But to get the FBI involved, there has to be a federal level criminal act. As a result of the Child Victims Act, I had legal documents and depositions. When I realized that he was traveling in and out of multiple states with victims and with another similar youth choir, even after the family closed, we started connecting the dots to go forward with a federal case.
The Department of Justice announced the indictment of a former teacher.
Paul Gear was indicted for coercing, transporting, and sexually abusing students.
The moment I found out Paul was in custody, I felt like finally they took me seriously after all.
I am so grateful to those agents, y'all, because they listened. You understand? Because we were put to the side, ignored, called liars, brats, right? Those agents open more doors than they even realized.
Where are we going, Liz? Court ditch. We're walking up the street to the courthouse.
I cannot fucking wait to see this guy in a jumpsuit. I mean, come on. Who's got the power?
Facts.
This case is different from other indictments that have been written.
Listen to me, all right? Victim 2 walked into the courthouse and she looked at me and said, "You are my favorite villain." And I was like, like I can't explain it, but it was wild.
About a troubled teen program because Paul is charged for the sex crimes, but the indictment encompasses the culture.
Yes.
So it felt like finally the family and the industry were now facing accountability.
Listen.
There are 6 counts in this case. He has 3 victims, so 3 counts of coercion and enticement and 3 counts of transportation with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. This could be Paul Gear's last morning in the free world.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the weirdest feeling. I'm not afraid. I'm not. I mean, I'm nervous. I have anxiety. I wish that I was able just to let survivors know that they're safe and that he's gone. But that's up to the jurors.
In Delaware County, Paul Gear has been found guilty after multiple allegations of sexual misconduct. The jury found Gear guilty on 2 counts of coercion and enticement and 2 counts of transportation with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity.
Did that really happen? Like, for real?
Yeah, he did it.
I didn't do shit. I just showed up. Oh my God. There were a lot of survivors in court. I could feel this really huge transfer of heat, but love, a lot of tears, a lot of support. It was really a show of force. And for the first time, we were all collected together. not because someone had died, but because we killed the monster that has haunted us forever. And we got to see him go away. I don't know. It's like all these feelings at once. Like, I cannot fucking believe it. Like, it really happened.
Hearing the sound of the handcuffs was like the best. Like, I'll have that in my memory forever. Like the sounds of like shh, shh.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel vindicated. I feel, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I might even feel happy. Are we gonna go? Are you gonna run? I am still the girl with the green eyes and the red hair that got put in the blanket for 8 days as a mechanism to silence me. I came out of that blanket and I went into my own kind of prison for 30 years. For so many years of my life, all I wanted to do was fight people. I finally feel like I don't have to fight anybody anymore. Look at it. That's a good girl. Come on. I think of all the times I was considering and have attempted taking my life. And all the times that I decided not to, I always wondered, why did all my friends leave me? Why did I get left behind? And now I know, because this is what I was left here to do. I stayed long enough to fulfill the promises made to my friends who have gone and the survivors still here. For the first time, I can think and dream further. Good girl. My greatest act of self-love is to reclaim my life.
They did a really good job. They really did. They did a really good job. I wasn't really paying attention to the chat because I didn't want to get distracted. If you haven't read Liz's book, you should 100% read it. It is a good book, but you definitely need a trigger warning, because if you think this was rough, her book is rough. It is a tough read. It's a tough read, but it's if you can get through it, it's really worth getting through. She has this, I'm referring to Liz, she has this jacket with angel wings on the back of it, right? And she made a post and it said something along the lines of, I'm retiring. And, you know, I've talked to her a couple of times since like this came out and things were like picking up, if you will. And I told her it's okay to rest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did what you needed to do, right? This, it is available. I put it in the description if anybody wants to go. I appreciate y'all. Hell to the no. I see y'all. I appreciate y'all for wanting to hear it. I know that I said in the first, I think it's in the first episode that I posted in the USA versus Paul Gear series, which I know, y'all, I'm working on it. All right. It's just a really heavy topic, right? And at the end of that, I said that I appreciate, right? Like, I'm never gonna feel sorry for raising the money for those students to get there. Okay. I am never gonna feel bad that victims were able to witness justice that they've waited for 30 fucking years because of this platform. Okay. I'm never gonna feel bad. Ever. You know? So that sounds like a you problem, because I know what I did and I know what this platform did. And y'all are never going to affect that. Yeah, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. I even believe that I was hit by a car so that people that couldn't attend, sentencing was a lot different, y'all, because it was just one day, right? The trial, we were originally told that trial was going to last 3 weeks, right? I even firmly believe that I was hit by that car so that I could get a remote link, and that the people that couldn't be there were able to listen to sentencing. I believe that, because they and people, you know, I think that maybe people understand a little bit more now than it used to be, right? Because back then nobody believed us. We were just lying, spoiled brats that are trying, we're angry. You know, it wasn't, I think that now it's much more talked about. And because of situations like this, there are docuseries. There's several of us in production of our own docuseries, but people, it's more well known, you know, and those people were able to witness justice that they have been waiting for 30 fucking years because of this platform. Because of the people that donated for them to attend that trial. And I am never going to feel sorry for it. But 10 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened because people, I think that they weren't ready to fully grasp the magnitude of what we dealt with, and how difficult it was for decades for us to be saying, hey, this happened to us, right? And even people like the staff or the owners saying, we just want to move on, you know, y'all changed the trajectory of our lives. Some of which, 158 that we know of, are no longer living a life. And that is what you say. It blows my mind. It blows my fucking mind. But I know that people are waiting for the next day of testimony. It is just something that I have to do over time. I have the transcripts. Most of them are edited because I don't want to put, I understand that it's public record, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put people in a position to be harassed, stalked, because people don't have fucking boundaries. I'm not going to do that. So it takes me going through a lot of it to make sure that I'm sticking to the privacy that I want or would expect if it were me. And I don't like it's a heavy topic. All the EMDR in the world doesn't always take it away. So I know, I know people ask me, and it's not that I don't want to do it. It's super heavy. And then I have to, edit and all that other stuff. I believe that, Sandy, I do. And at first I was super upset that the neurologist wouldn't allow me to fly to sentencing because I waited for 30 fucking years to witness that. You know, I was really upset with it, but once I got the link to attend virtually, I accepted that it was being done. I believe that it was done so that those people, and never mind, remember, there were about 20 students there that also were traveling with GoFundMe funds. Okay. And then the students that listened to sentencing on that call, that was another 40 people. All right. Remember that. Right. It's not that it necessarily triggers me. I just don't like to be upset. You know, I don't like to get stuck in that mindset, if you will. And unfortunately, I kind of have to get it out. I understand that it's important, but I have to do it at my own pace, and it's long. It's a lot of information, and I have to figure out how to structure. And you know, I figured doing it day by day is easier. That way it's easier to follow, because some of the testimony, I'm just going to be honest, it's back and forth and all over the place. I thought that I was missing a day. So I put in another request for the transcripts and then realized I'm not missing a day. So it's crazy, but I appreciate y'all. I know I saw a comment about it staying up. It will stay up. I did add it to the USA versus Paul Gear and Breaking Code Silence playlists. That way it was there. I think that's what's so sad to me, Sour Milk, is that it's not a rare thing, right? Like I think that, I don't know who's in what age group, but I think that like the age group that I grew up in, it was very hush hush, right? Like it wasn't something that was publicly or talked about, right? And I think that parents need to be aware of what happens at these places, because it is still very common for parents to send their kids to these types of programs, and none of them are good. I'm just going to be honest. I've never heard of a good program. Never. The family school marketed themselves as a, drug and alcohol kind of treatment center, and they were served a whole ass cease and desist from the Division of Alcohol Abuse. Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's crazy. But I hope y'all have a good day. I will talk to y'all soon. I appreciate you. It is streaming on Apple TV. I bought mine on Amazon, video on demand, YouTube movies, even, I think. But I did put it in the description. I'll also link Liz's book in the description for anybody that wants to read it and hasn't. And I appreciate y'all. And I will see y'all soon. Have a good night.